Time to shine today, podcast varsity squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I've been waiting, kind of bated breath, to interview my really good friend Kristen Olson. Such a pioneer in her own sense and in her own life of what she did and how she's grown through marketing, through strategic alliances and partnerships. Former D1 athlete, CrossFit Games athlete, absolutely stunning woman, just fantastic. We did a podcast swap, so you could probably hop over to Turmeric and Tequila, which is an awesome podcast. Don't go near it because the knowledge nuggets she's going to drop is absolutely blow your mind. But we're I call her my sister from another Mista. We had so much fun on this show. I kept her a little bit longer. She's very like sought after, so she was blessed to stay on with me just a little bit longer, which is so much fun. If somebody that's really kind of looking to take a next level, next step, please share this with them because the knowledge nuggets that through going through adversity, absolutely kicking ass. Yeah, Kristen is the epitome of that. So share it with your friend. If you like it, smash the like button, possibly subscribe. My sponsors and affiliates absolutely love that. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, KO, Kristen Olson from the Turmeric and Tequila podcast and also KO Alliance. Let's level up. Time to shine today, podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson. This one is a long time in coming. I have to throw a huge shout out, thank you to my really good friend Fred Moskowitz, who was actually in Palm Beach a couple weeks ago. We had a nice little sit down, talk, chat, coffee, and he introduced me to the fantastic Kristen Olson from KO Alliance. But her podcast, don't go there yet, but her podcast, Turmeric and Tequila, is fantastic. And those are like two of my favorite things in the world. Turmeric, I take every morning for aches and pains and inflammation. And tequila is not an everyday thing. I kind of wish it was, but it's as long as it's a nice high quality. But she's a creative coach, athlete, entrepreneur, podcaster, and kind of most importantly, a puppy mom. So her uniting mission is to drive humans to greatness everywhere. She's seasoned marketing management and brand development professional, culture marketing, strategic partnership, strategic planning. And get this, man, she's like absolutely, if you're watching Vimeo or YouTube, she's absolutely stunning, but she's also a former D1 athlete. She's a CrossFit Games athlete. And again, her a current podcaster of Turmeric and Tequila. And Kristen, KO, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Let's go. My favorite color, we got to go hot pink, 100%.
Hot
If you're
pink.
watching, you see the
Yeah,
flowers here.
I love it.
All things bright colors. Yeah, we're here for the energy. You already know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Moskowitz put us together, and I think we had like a 30-minute conversation schedule. I think we talked for like an hour and 10 or something, just kind of bouncing stuff off, and like just nice to have that common ground, kind of someone that takes care of themselves, but also builds businesses. So let's get kind of to the roots of KO. Like Kristen,
Yeah.
Kristen Olson, let's get to the roots of you because you're so impressive. I respect you immensely. And I've been looking so forward to this, conversation. So let's get to kind of where it started.
Yeah, let's go. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We're certainly like-minded, mission-driven humans out here giving where we can and trying to do the right thing and level up in the meantime. So I'm the oldest of four. I have three younger brothers. I think that's a huge piece of my story. I think universe sets you up where early on with whatever the mission is. So learning to not only be a voice, but be a leader in a pack of four where there's three younger brothers was a lot early on. Both parents athletes, so I grew up in an athletic zone. I played, and thankfully this was back in 80s babies, 90s kids. Girls weren't doing everything, but with three younger brothers, I got thrown into motocross and lacrosse and gosh, paintball. Like I did everything they did. So it was really cool now to be in the era of 2024 sports are popping off and I've
Yeah.
been in the mix for so long, so that's cool. So I just got exposed to everything, played D1 lacrosse, didn't want a boss, graduating that, had a great experience, but that's where my entrepreneurship journey started. So as soon as I graduated, started a lacrosse company, did all things camps, tournaments, team sales, marketing. We had no money, so we learned about strategic partnerships and got into CrossFit, and that popped off. And then that's when KO Alliance became a thing. We started working with athletes and companies and making moves, and then Turmeric and Tequila was born.
That's fantastic. I got to ask you though. So you're the oldest of four sibs, the three other sibs, and
Mm-hmm.
you're the girl in the family. So you got away with absolutely
Mm-hmm.
nothing, right? I mean, nothing. Like you were probably kept an eye on
Nothing.
you as the boys kept popping out, popping out. It's like you probably got away with like you paved the way. And I bet you did your siblings after you kind of have an easier road?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I
Okay.
think the parents, I mean, I think a boy or a girl, the first sibling, like their parents are figuring it out. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do? So like they were super strict. And then by like my third brother, the fourth kid, they were like, he was at rated R movies at
At
first
12.
grade and like say shit. And like, yeah, exactly. It was a total different experience. So yeah, I think I was scared. But that being said, I'm very much a free spirit and a free soul. Like I was the kid that like just got my work done without like micromanagement or helicopter parents. Like they were more strict on me, but my parents were pretty like hands off as far as like me getting into trouble. Like I was no angel, but I handled my business as a young person. That was just something that was
Yeah.
in me. So I didn't have a lot of structure early.
Yeah, that's but you're always athletic though, right?
Oh
Growing
yeah,
up, yeah,
yeah,
and motocross, you mentioned and stuff like that. So with
yeah.
your with the lacrosse company, it wasn't that big because you're an 80s baby, right? Kind of like 70s, 80s. And again, I'm not going to say your age because I know
Oh, I'm
you
43. I talk
I
about it all
know
the
how
time.
old you are. I didn't want to say it. Now we know you're 43. You don't
You're
look
good.
anything
Yeah,
near it.
yeah.
So, but like lacrosse wasn't exactly that sport then, right? So,
No.
what kind of ideas did you bring to the forefront that kind of pioneered it to being successful, lining with strategic partnerships, like you said, and stuff like that? But what kind of ideas and thoughts were going through your mind as you were launching that?
Yeah, I was just a kid that wanted to play. And again, my brothers, there was boys lacrosse first in Colorado. This was not a lacrosse hotbed, but it bit, and that's what I was good at. So I didn't even think that I could play lacrosse in college until like my sophomore year because it was so sparse. And I was lucky that my public school happened to have it. It was mostly like a private school sport. It's wealthy white people. Like, there's limited access to
Yeah,
lacrosse, and it's changed over the years, but not a ton.
right.
So I was really privileged in that again, my public school had it, and then I had the opportunity to go with travel teams. There wasn't even really competitive teams back in the day. So I ended up turning down certain scholarships because I wanted to go D1 top 20 and walked onto a team. I
Oh,
often say my younger self was more of like a gangster than my 43-year-old self because I didn't care. I had something to prove. I believed in myself and I just risked it all. So I walked on to, I think George Mason University was like 11th at the time. And again, I'm a Colorado kid, so the level of East Coast play was far beyond
way
where I was
different.
at.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that year was just like a major ego check, which I was prepared for. I knew I wasn't going to be the best, but I knew that I could be. So by my sophomore year, I was a team captain. And then I tore my ACL. So it was like some ups and downs, but excellent life journey early on. Graduating, I was like, we got to get lacrosse out here in Colorado. It had taken me to Japan and Prague and all over the world. I'm like, I want this to be more than just a wealthy white person sport. Like, let's facilitate a way to bring this sport to anyone that wants to play because it had provided so much for my life. And this is before any conversation around diversity and inclusion or anything like that. It was just
Mhm.
something I was passionate about early
Sure.
on.
But like was the internet wasn't even really that big at
Oh.
that time. So how did you really get people to say, okay, lacrosse is something that I want to get my kids into? Or what was your
Yeah.
kind of like slogan or something that really got people excited?
Well, innovation's born out of necessity. So I had no money, limited resources, and just a passion for the game. So this is where creative strategy, air quotes, started to come into play where I started reaching. I didn't want the mammoth and the professional teams were coming out here in Colorado. So camps were like 600 to 800 bucks 20 years ago, and it just wasn't accessible for a lot of people. And even
Sure.
if families did well, it was hard to get in any experience in lacrosse. So that's when I hit up like companies like Cliff Bar, and I'm like, if you
Mhm.
pay us to help distribute bars and be like kind of like your marketing team, I can then go into like field days at schools where marketing companies can't go. We can bring Cliff
Yeah.
Bars, we save them from buying popsicles for their field day, and then we get to take like an hour of their field day and teach everybody lacrosse. So I just started doing this creative strategy because I had no money, a good amount of time, and then just if there's a will, there's a way. We just started doing stuff, and that whole process formalized into what now is KO Alliance, where we can do this creative strategy, work with what we got, but really like we figure out we start with the mission first. My mission then was to facilitate lacrosse and expose it, and then we build everything else around that. Fast forward 20 years, we're doing the same exact thing.
Wow. So where did this lateral thinking come from? There's no black and white to saying I'm going to go to Cliff Bars and do that because that's something like you're like my sister from another mister because that's exactly how I think, right? So
Yeah.
like I mean like okay, case in point, I had there's this dude Eric Wharton and never forget the guy. He had a Detroit Free Press paper out. right? And he's like, I'm getting out of it. He turned like 15. He's like, I'm out of the paper route business and stuff. But he had a route that was paying him like $25 a month, man. This is like 1985, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I'm like, huh. So like, and people are like, oh, do this. And I'm like, dude, I'll give you $5 a month for the next year. You know what I'm saying? Then I took it and expanded
I
the
love it.
route and stuff. So where did that come from? Are you entrepreneurial parents or the need to survive because you had three brothers breathing down your neck? Like, where'd that come from?
I've thought about this a lot, and that's why the base of the podcast it's this juxtaposition of like questioning a better way because I wasn't used to authority. Like again, my family, like they had rules and stuff, but I was kind of like, do your work, get your work done. Like I was very focused, and sports was my accountability. Like I knew I was always behind. If I was gonna go play lacrosse in top 20, I'm a Midwest kid that has not been exposed. My lacrosse coach played softball, so I always had this mentality of being like a little bit behind. So I knew I had to always work harder. So I was like constantly like cutting corners of okay, well, if I can just eat a little bit better, that will help. If I can train a little more, that will help. And I was just sort of solving these problems early on because I didn't have solutions at hand or really
Mhm.
accessibility. And I just kind of worked with it. And on the flip side, just genetically and personality, I never really fit in. My way of thinking was never really like anyone else. So even if it wasn't necessarily like to be better or to make money or whatever, I just my train of thought never really seemed to fit in what everybody else was doing. And I'm a blonde white female with white privilege. Like you can chameleon relatively easy and especially in 2024 and back then. But like my mindset never was really like I'm like everyone else in my high school. I'm like I always felt like I was kind of different. And then long term, that different way of thinking just happened to serve me. I just found a way to a solution that no one else was doing. Like even in math, like longhand division and stuff, for some reason I was always just doing it my way versus like the prescribed way. And that does not
Right.
always serve you. Sometimes that's the long road, but
Sure.
just the way I am, I always just found my way to solution versus this more traveled path that everyone else has done. And it sounds like a cool story, but that's just really actually the way it was. I
Yeah.
just had this my way of doing things.
But you're still kind of an anomaly of the people that are out there. And I'm glad that you said that your own way can be the long way. So you kind of try
Yeah.
it, and that's where like coaches and mentors come in really key for you to like the people that actually care about your success, right?
Yeah.
So then let's do a little dive into what was the birth of turmeric and tequila. I mean, your podcast is awesome, but like where did this juxtaposition, to use your word here, to think of a better way, like where did that kind of come from?
Yeah. So it was super interesting. Again, I think on my podcast, I say God, universe, Madonna, whatever you believe. We can be intentional humans. We can be out here with a plan and we're motivated. And some things are just like in the stars and they're just working out for you. And like things are conspiring in your favor. You got to have the right attitude, but you got to show up. Some things are just bigger and we don't control that much. So it was funny that Instagram and social media was starting to pop off when I was a varsity head coach for lacrosse at a local high school here for 9 seasons, 10 years. And this was a time when social media was starting to grow. So here I was on marketing branding time, working with big companies. I'm in health and wellness. I'm in CrossFit. Everyone's naked and it's sexy. So I'm doing a lot of marketing with that. Lots of companies love to be in health and wellness. And so my marketing company, we had always done strategic partnerships, AKA like influencers, because we didn't have a ton of money. So we were working with a lot of startups, key community influencers. So we would get coaches or leaders or business owners and then seed them or get them to align with companies. Well, when Instagram took off, brand ambassadors was the formal version of that. So we were already doing it. The kicker was that as the social media took off, it was a lot more smoke and mirrors. We've got filters changing bodies. We've got products and supplements and
Thank you
companies
for
saying they're
saying
doing
that.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that they're not. And we didn't have as much of a conscious consumer as we do now.
Mm.
So I felt if I'm an old school philosophy fan, but like if reality is nothing more than applied meaning, if you're not a philosophy fan, to sum it up, it's to suffer. So we're kind of just navigating our way backwards of like how do we be happy? But if all of our reality is coming through our phone, marketing and branding and humans are a big part of like how we're digesting this world. So I felt very compelled as a marketing person to really start working with intentional mission driven companies and humans, but really telling the truth. I was managing influencers and brand ambassadors that were on the cover of Women's Health, but I knew they had disordered eating. And I was working with companies that had not so great ingredients, but they were barking it as a health and wellness product. And I still filtered out everyone I worked with, but as you dug in, it was hard to get to the truth until you were already in it. So long story short, I was like, if I'm part of this, I'm seeing my young women digest their reality through this, like as a marketing professional, I'm like, we got to just start telling the truth. I don't know how it is, but or what the path is, but I'm podcasting. This thing looks cool. I think I'm just gonna get on the mic and get the brand ambassadors and key voices that I'm working with on the mic to fully tell their story. And
Mm,
even the ones that don't want to be influencers but have these incredible stories, especially in CrossFit, there's tons of hidden incredible leaders. Just come on, because I want to facilitate this opportunity for our young people to hear good people doing good things. I don't know how it's gonna work, so I was like, let's just letting it be all out there. Turmeric and tequila. I'm here for the fitness and the health and the wellness. And I love social. I love party. I love fun. Like these seemingly opposing things can harmoniously coexist. And
yeah.
those are the stories I wanted to share because I wanted our all people, but young people in particular, to see like you don't have to do it everyone else's way. You can be different things and still head towards a common goal. You can listen to different opinions. You can do things your way. You can do blah, blah, blah. But here's examples of people doing this. And like, here's the content and proof that you don't have to fit in this box. In the end game of that is community and mental health. So like you're not driving to be something you're not. You can be all these different things. And again, these are humans and examples of it. So the podcast was born just out of let's highlight the truth and
Mm.
show examples that this, I'm not just telling you this is the truth. Here's people actually living it.
So when you bring people on to the show as guests and whatnot, like
Mm-hmm.
how vetted are they? Because you seem to like you're like, oh, this person was on the cover of this woman's magazine, but I knew that she was bulimic or whatever. You didn't say what she was, but like how deep do you kind of vet your people without crossing a line of like, dude, get away from me kind of thing? What I'm saying, like, what do you
Yeah.
do?
Well, so even we've had our companies even and even clients where we take on, like I'm very intentional about mission driven humans and companies. So we do our research, and in this day and age, you can find a lot out on the internet. You don't even really have to internet. Like you
Yeah.
can get to the truth, and you can, and a lot of it's intuition and vibe. Like quantum physics, I was listening to a great podcast. It's like we got all this science and proof, and Sir Isaac Newton proved this, and it's an order to our universe. And energy. Well, E equals MC squared. It's Einstein's saying energy and matter are coexisting. So much of science data, interview, pregame, that's great. A lot of it's intuition and energy and just
Ooh.
vibing and trusting what's there. And we've run laps in this game, so you can get a vibe on people pretty fast. But podcasting wise, I'm very thankful that I exist in a world through fitness, through my marketing, through just friendships that come into my life. Vibe attracts the tribe. I have good people coming in. So a lot of it's, oh my God, I train with you. I know you do this. You've got this company and you give 10% back to veterans because you're a former Navy SEAL. Like I have people that are kind of in my orbit. So I bring them in organically. And if I have to, I do some digging, but most, thankfully a lot of it comes in pretty organically at this point, and we have a quick conversation. I don't even like pre-interview or anything. I
Mhm.
just dig out and let it be kind of like Andy Cohen, like it's just
Dude,
what happens live. So
that's what I
I hope
am.
that makes sense. Yeah,
100%. Like
yeah,
people come in, they'll want to send me like a book for their bio. And I'm like, dude, I'm not reading that thing. And I don't look
yeah.
at anybody's stuff. And I'm sorry if I'm offending any of my part guests. Like I don't look at anybody's stuff really until I make sure they're not criminals or something like that,
That's
or
good.
have something going on with that. Like, but I have a team that does that. But like, I don't like Larry King is something I actually got to meet that dude like when I was
Okay.
young, right? And he's just like, dude, I haven't read anybody's books until after I talked to him. It's like I
Yeah.
want to get to know the person and then form my own thoughts. And that's why he's one of the best interviewers ever. Graham Bensinger, same thing. He interviews all the athletes. So he flies blind on a lot of his stuff. And I'm glad that you do your research, but you make it really organic, which is why you're freaking top 2.5% in the world on the turmeric and tequila. So, what challenges do you think that you learn the most from while building your businesses? Like, what's really comes to mind? You're like, dude, I kicked ass on that. Like, this is something that I made it through, pushed through. Like, what one really stands out?
Man, all of it. It's funny because we're intentional humans. We know how to work hard. We're disciplined, focus on a goal. And you do need things around you like God, universe, Madonna. Like things have to be happening that you can't control kind of alongside your intentional mission. Like I'm an advocate for women in sports. Like athletics has provided so much for my life. Title IX is huge. And you now come to 2024 where my podcast has always been focusing on that. But look at the space of our world. No part of me could ever have controlled how big women's sports would be in 2024, the success of the WNBA, social media
Yeah.
popping off for these young stars. Like I couldn't have controlled any of that, but how
Right.
beautiful is it? This is aligning right as my podcast is moving. And now we can like coexist and help facilitate this larger message about women's sports collectively. So I think a big challenge for me in the beginning and even now, a practice of just letting go, like believing, showing up, doing the training, doing everything I can do. And then also just having like straight up blind faith that like God, universe, Madonna is going to show up and like the timing's going to be good. And like all these things are going to come together that I can't control. And early on, again, we're trained to like do everything. You think you can control this stuff and you really can't. So my biggest piece for my young people is just the discipline, like the
Yeah.
training in going D1, walking onto a team where I didn't belong, but I knew I could be there. And then training at the and competing at the CrossFit Games and being taken off a team at one point. Like all these things were training me right now to be the best version of myself so I can share the gospel on the podcast. Like everything's been training us up to this point for that next big thing, whatever
Sure.
it might be. I was just training to go to the games. Or I was training to win a D1 championship. But in the scheme of things, who cares about all that? I'm doing
Right.
something that's bigger now, which I'm sure you identify with, like
Yeah.
suicide prevention and positive impact. Like it's way bigger than our personal agenda.
Absolutely. And you started something that was pretty rare in Colorado that I'm sure has grown thousandfold since you kind of started. I mean, the air's thin there. I mean, I love playing golf in
Yeah.
Colorado. I mean, I feel like freaking Tiger, right? But I'm sure people might just come there to train for the acclimation and getting better lungs. And you're kind of like a pioneer there. You won't toot your own horn, but I'm seeing that as happening. And I have did a little bit of research on you, so I kind of know this, which is huge props to you. So have you seen the
Thank you.
movie Back to the Future?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's get
absolutely.
let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, right? Let's go back to the double deuce, the 22-year-old Kristen. What kind of
Yeah.
knowledge nuggets would you drop on her? Not to change anything, because you're everything, your trajectory and all that stuff has been pretty freaking awesome, right? But what might you drop on her to maybe help her shorten the learning curve or maybe blast through, maybe just a little bit quicker?
Man, I say this, and this is ironic because we're podcasters and we're voices or speakers. I would say I didn't listen to a lot. Like I was so focused on what I wanted. And I was not even the person that's like, I want to be a lawyer and get married and have 3 kids and like have this like very intentional trajectory. I just knew I wanted my freedom, the ability to make choices. And then I just wanted to do something big. And I couldn't articulate that. I couldn't explain it. And that drove a lot of like contention within me. Like, what in the fuck am I doing? Like, where am I going? What is this? And I would tell my young self, you don't need to have it figured out. Like, just keep showing up. You're working towards something and it's happening. Podcasting was not a thing then. Like, what I do now, the marketing, branding, Instagram wasn't a thing. Nothing I was going to do was a thing yet. So I would just tell that young person, like, relax, keep following your intuition or what you enjoy or what inspires you. Don't worry about what everyone else is saying. Don't listen. Like, everything, like, I have a podcast now. I'm telling you, I mean, I'm inviting you to come listen. But reality, young people,
Yeah.
trust your gut. Don't listen to what
Thank
everyone is
you.
telling you to do.
Right.
Just go do your thing and have the faith. I had such blind, naive faith that I
Yeah.
was going to want to win a D1 championship. And then I'm walking into the CrossFit Games and a lot of stuff I didn't have any experience in, but I knew I
Yeah.
could do the work. I
Oh,
knew I had
absolutely.
something big within.
Yeah.
And it kind of stems into just stay the road. Like, listen, get intel where you can, but even if you're doing the long road,
Yeah.
trust yourself. Don't listen to what everyone else has to say.
In squad, also, she's kind of saying that, like, if you don't know something, look for that person that you might want to emulate and get your asking gear and
Mm-hmm.
ask them. What I'm saying, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
people there that I'm sure that you did ask. You saw them, they're doing it. Because I coach the plus equals minus, like on a consistent basis, KO, where like every day I want to find someone to emulate and learn from. I don't care if I read something in a book about them
Mm-hmm.
and pick up a step. And then equals is like you and I, we rap, we bounce stuff off each other. And also we send that elevator down on the minus side to pull people up that they might emulate us, right? So it's super important, which I know you give back. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you put that out there. So how does Kristen want her dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life
Yeah.
date and death date. Hopefully it's way freaking down the line because the world needs you. But how do you want your dash remembered?
Hope so. Well, yeah, I gotta echo your statements. Get around people that are better than you. Period. That's why I love
All the
CrossFit.
time.
Like, you keep the water level high, and you're on people doing big things. You're gonna do big things. Period. So whether it's coaching or competing or something, get around someone that identifies with your mindset, and yeah, get around someone that can
Yeah.
help facilitate that process. The dash for me would be, I love the quote. I'd rather it be said he lived usefully than died rich. Benjamin Franklin, I think it
I
is.
think
Rusty.
so.
Yeah, and then Madonna, I didn't start singing because I had the best voice. I started singing because I had something to say. But somewhere in between Madonna and Benjamin Franklin is where I would exist. Of like, I it's very important to me that however much time I do have, I'm useful in this world, and I'm used up. Bill Withers, the song "Use Me Up," I love. I keep that in the back of my mind just because we're here to be useful. Like you, like whatever, however I can be useful to this world, that's
Boom.
important to me.
Yeah.
And that kind of sums it up. Being a teammate, being a facilitator, just doing good things.
A lot of people ask me what my why and my purpose is. It's to be useful. That's
Yeah.
it. That's my answer.
Amen.
That's the bottom line. I
Yep.
want to exist. I want to thrive, but I also want to be there to serve.
Yeah.
So, what do you think people misunderstand the most about Kristen?
That's a powerful question because I think as I've done my own work, coaching, therapies, all the things, being in human optimization, health and wellness, I always have to go through brain training and like I test all this stuff. So I always think universe set me up like if my
Yeah,
stubborn self would not have done some of these things to level up, I'm gonna do it for work because I can't promote something I've not done or work with something I've not done.
sure.
So in all of that, it's kind of like what are we doing and how, and unpacking that has kind of always gone back to just like chasing the passion and aligning with people that you really care about and want to be like, and then just letting things unfold. Does that
Yeah,
answer your question?
absolutely. 100%, man. So,
Okay.
yeah, because some people, they way misunderstand me too. They think that I'm a huge extrovert. Dude, I love my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're kind of an introvert as well. Like, I think that you love your, yeah,
Both
yeah,
things can be true.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, then what in a sentence, what is your definition of success?
Success. Well, I think that can play to being like misunderstood. I think every human, the major point of mental health, like the rub there is being misunderstood in general. Whatever way that goes, but just generally speaking, I think we want to be accepted and understood
Mhm.
in community. So I think the success piece to me would play into like being understood. I don't know if that matters to me because I think people look at my life and they're like, we don't really know you. We sort of get your business. We see you out here. You're not married. You're 43. You can read and you can put on, brush your hair. Like, what's going on there? Like, I always get these like kind of base level questions where I don't necessarily understand. So I'm okay with not being fully understood. And I'd love for people to be like okay with that within themselves. Like not
Mhm.
everyone needs to understand you. On the flip side, I think you are a success when someone can relate to you. And perhaps that is in also being misunderstood. So
Love
when you
it.
can relate to someone or someone can relate to you and somehow your journey helps theirs or streamlines their processes or inspires, that to me is success for that's useful to me. So being useful is my success.
Love it.
So ironically, if that misunderstanding helps someone else identify with me in my journey
Mhm.
because they feel misunderstood, that's a success point to
I
me.
love that you align success with being useful.
Yeah.
That's huge. I get asked that sometimes, like living a life of options and not obligations. That's the one
Mhm.
thing. We all want our freedom. And you are the epitome of someone seeing that and going, she's doing her thing. She's paving her stuff. And that's impressive, especially as a woman. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? No downplay
Thank
against a
you.
woman, but especially as a woman. And you're out there, you're owning it. That's absolutely beautiful. So how about I'm gonna ask you another definition. Like, what is KO's definition of a life well lived? Or
Fun.
did you
I
already
think you gotta
answer it?
just I mean somewhat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, the juxtaposition, like I'm a serious, intense person. When I compete, like don't fuck with me when it comes to competing. Like, and I don't always win. I've gotten run over a ton.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna show up and like I have a whole different
Yeah.
like business competitorism.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I'm so laid back. I'm just way chill when it comes to so many things. So yeah, it's somewhere in like in between there
I
that
love it.
and it kind of goes back to success of like you got to just be intentional with your life and your journey, but enjoy the ride. Like you got to have
Yeah.
fun and just be okay with like ups and downs, but like find a way to enjoy it. Like our lives are not that long. We're a blip on the radar.
Dude, blip. Dude,
Yeah, enjoy it, man. Find a way to
to
have fun.
to live a million hours, and you think million is not that much anymore in our range of things.
Right.
That's 114 years old to live
Yeah.
that. Like
Yikes.
that's crazy, right? So or maybe it's minutes. I don't know. One of those. It's not that it's a
It's a
longer
lot of
time. You're not here that long. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back in KO when I make it out to Colorado. We'll definitely hook up for maybe a bev
let's
and some turmeric or whatnot. But and I'll talk about some of these questions. You and I will probably rattle on because like I would hate to meet you at a networking event because I think both of us are more interested in other people's stories than telling ours, right? So we'd
For
be
sure.
asking questions of each other all night. We'd be a terrible date. We'd be
For
like
sure.
asking each other, right? But no, seriously, like today, you got 5 seconds to answer them with no explanations, and they can all be answered that way. You ready to go on the clock and level up?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, KO, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Just do it.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Fitness, day work out every single day, or find a way to work out at least 3 to 5 days a week.
Love it. So you see me walking down the street. Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit, or maybe I'm at an event or something. What book might you hand me that really helps you turn a corner?
Ooh, honestly, probably not a book. I'm big on music. I think
Okay.
music is energy and relation. I'd say go turn on your favorite music.
Love it. Great answer, by the way. Fantastic. Most
Thank you.
commonly used emoji when you text.
Oh shoot, I would say. I mean, me and my mom use the red balloons, so we're always doing that, which is funny. But probably the hands up or the smiley with a kiss.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
I actually didn't have any. Oh, I was Olson in lacrosse, OLSON, last name, and then CrossFit. There was another Kristen, so I was KO and KO stuck. So I only had nicknames as an adult.
Love it. Love it. Any hidden talents and or superpowers that you have that nobody knows about? Well, until now.
I mean, that competitive zone, I can stay in it. Like I'm very good,
I
almost to a
can see
fault
it.
of just, yeah, just shutting off and staying in it. And then intuition, I don't know. I'm learning that as I grow up. I think
Very
we're all
cool.
intuitive adults, but there's something larger going on that I'm trying to figure out with and further connect with.
Love it. Headline for your life.
I had a blast.
There you go. Chess checkers or Monopoly?
What'd you say? What was last? I couldn't, it broke
Monopoly.
up.
Chess checkers or Monopoly?
Ooh, my gut says checkers. I love Monopoly. I like real estate, but we used to get in like full on family
Yeah,
fights
dude, I'd
because
fight
everyone's so
you.
freaking
I would
competitive.
fight
Yeah.
you so hard if we
Mm.
played. Anyways, go to ice cream
We'll
flavor.
see. Go to ice cream flavor for sure, like chocolate covered cherry. I like fruit again, and then you add in like the chocolate or some sort of sweet. So
Love
yeah,
it.
chocolate covered cherry.
Build a sandwich for me that's called the KO. Build that sandwich.
Hey, we got to go protein heavy here. So
You
we'd probably
go.
have turkey, lettuce, tomato, good. I would use apple cider vinegar because it's healthier than regular
Mm,
vinegar. I'm not a big dairy person. Mayo mustard, pickle on the side. I don't know, something. I eat though, I fuel. So it would
yeah.
be a significant sandwich. And then if
Any
we could, if it's a good gluten-free bread, we'd go with that.
any man candy on there? Any bacon?
We could do
All
bacon
right,
for
cool.
sure.
Turkey bake.
Yeah,
Can't beat it. I love it. Favorite
let's go.
charity and or organization you like to give your time and or money to?
Oh man, we got a couple amazing local ones. Again,
Yeah.
my fitness humans are so varsity. Holy Kicks out here in Colorado. They're walking alongside humans in economic disparity and experiencing homelessness. They've given out like I think it's over 10,000 pairs of shoes. They're incredible. Oh my gosh, there's so many. The Do More Charity Challenge is coming up. It's an event where they give out, every team can play on behalf of their charity. They've worked with tons of them. Travis Manion Foundation,
Yeah,
helping with veterans and their
there
families.
you
They're
go.
amazing. I actually knew him in college. So everything I'm like socially connected. I know the humans of there's a lot of them, but those are two or three big ones.
Very cool. Very cool. Last question. Best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s, 90s, probably early 2000s. I'm adding that
Okay.
in. So anything Whitney, Brittany, Madonna, pop, I'm your girl.
All right. Awesome. So how can we find you, love?
Yes, come through. Everything social. My personal Instagram is Madonna's Hero. Obviously, we're a huge Madonna's fan, so we like to think that I'm her hero. She heard that, she probably hate that. But anyways, KO Alliance, anything at KO Alliance, KOAlliance.com, and Turmeric Tequila. We're Turmeric Tequila on Instagram, but turmericandtequila.com. If you Google any of those things, we'll pop up on everything. We are highly accessible, so feel free to DM, reach out. Like we're out here and we're connected to our
It's
community. We're
not
very
AI
passionate.
responses.
No, man, we're out here. We don't do any of that. We're trying to stay as old school as
You too,
possible,
man.
music, heart, and soul as we
Yeah.
can. So no, we're in it and we're accessible for the long term. And I just brought two people on intentionally so we're staying with that human connect. Community is our end game. So we're out
Gotcha.
here for you.
I love it. And you're gonna when I was in the military and I was stationed Seal Beach out in Coronado, right? The certain lady came out and played music, and her team was like, "Hey, you got an iron to iron clothes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I like ran and got an iron, came in. There's Madonna, and she gave me a kiss on the cheek.
What? You're just now telling me this
Yeah,
story?
I
Let's
did
dial.
not
That is a
know
flex. Let's
this.
go.
So
That's a
yeah.
flex. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that
Okay.
it was pretty cool. And being from Michigan and her being from Michigan, like she
Hell
rapped with me
yeah.
for like five, I was only, this is 92, 93. I was 20 or 21. And like she
Okay.
rapped for like 10 minutes. She's like, "Oh, it's from Warren." I'm like, "I know where Warren's." It was kind of cool and stuff. So
Let's
yeah,
go.
there's a lot of troops
Okay.
there.
You
It was
never
it was
watched that,
really
right?
cool. What's that? No, no, this
That's
part right
I said
here.
you never washed your cheek?
Nope,
Yeah.
nope, this part never. I should have got like
That's
a
a
tattoo of
that's
her
so
with a
amazing.
turmeric. Right. It was pretty awesome.
I
So
feel like she would have loved that. Yeah.
probably. So do me one last solid and leave us with one last
Yeah.
knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I this is so cheesy and it's something we used to
Yeah.
say like in college that was so basic, but it was dream, believe, achieve. I really think, and I would say this to our young people, like dream of something and then having your in the back knowing that like whatever you dream of, if you just show up and do the best you can, like it could be even bigger than what you're dreaming. Really focus on the mental, like believe it, be conscious of how you talk to yourself, the people
Mm,
you surround yourself with, and then have this mind's eye of really achieving it and knowing that it can happen. There's like I said, you can do everything intentional and things will fall through and not go the way you wanted. And that's always good because it can be bigger than what you think. And like
mhm.
the way the world's going will be right on time with whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing and what you need to be doing. So just keep showing up and believe in it. Do worry about what you can
Love that
control.
you
Dream,
say
believe,
that.
achieve.
Just keep showing up, being consistent. Because like I will never stand on the 18th green over a putt to win the Masters. I will never be in the bottom of the ninth, but I have been in front of 15,000 people speaking, and it
Yep.
took me probably 47 pro bono speeches to just get there. And
Yeah.
then they put me up there. I was pooping my pants. Don't get me wrong, but it's something that, like you said, you stay the course inch by inch. It's a cinch, right? By the yard, it's
Yeah.
hard. Like just keep going and keep going. And squad, I had the most fun. I knew this was going to be just straight fire with my good friend KO, that she believes in like-minded, driven humans, and the vibe will attract your tribe. Like get around those people. This universe sets you up for what the mission is going to be, she reminded us. She's a free spirit, free soul, leans into challenges, and she believed in herself. That's why she made the trek out to the East Coast where lacrosse is just straight fire, and she made the team. She was out there killing it, right? She's a total lateral thinker. Like that is the most attractive thing about any human being on the earth is that they think not, I'm not saying to get outside the box squad. I'm saying to, or get outside your comfort zone. I'm saying just stretch it. Just keep stretching and stretching. What she did with the Cliff Bars to be able to go out there and say, I will market your company if you strategically align. And she used the word juxtaposition a lot, really to think a better way. Sometimes you don't get to the truth until you're already in it. That was something she said that just really blew my mind. She wants you to really control the controllables. The rest of it, just let it go. It's just going to weigh on your mind. You're not going to really be able to produce anything trying to control something that you absolutely can't control. And you don't have to have it all figured out, she reminded us. But if you don't know something, like my good friend Leah Woodford reminds me all the time, get your asking gear. There's people out there that want to give you the answer. She wants to be remembered as someone that lived youthfully and died rich, but also had her voice heard. That's one thing. She's planting trees that she's never going to sit in the shade of, right? She does shit for the intention, not the attention. You don't see her saying, look at me, I'm KO. She gets out there. She got ran over quite a bit in her life, but when she failed, she pulled a Barry Sanders, the best running back ever to play football. She failed forward. He lost so many yards, but he always so failed forward. And that's what my good friend KO does. You want you to, again, it's cliche, but dream, believe, and achieve. Show up. Be very careful about what you say to yourself. You feed yourself that positive mental attitude, get around people that will do that for you. And I promise you, you will succeed like my good friend Kristen does. She loves upper health. She loves upper wealth. She's absolutely stunning. She's humble yet hungry. Not that she needs another varsity letter, but she wanted her varsity letter here from time to shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, KO. I absolutely love your guts, and I cannot wait to collaborate with you in the future.
Let's go. Thank you for having me.
Let's fire up. Chat soon.